Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. YouTube's been a bit quiet with my videos lately, so a like and a quick comment from you go a long way. Thanks. Let's get right into today's story. I'm Dan Mercer, a 35-year-old financial analyst here in Denver, Colorado. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might be here for those wild, true-life stories that keep you up at night. Well, buckle up, because my story will make you question everything about trust, family, and the people closest to you. It's about my failed marriage, a devastating betrayal by my wife Mia, and a plot so twisted it felt like something out of a thriller movie. But this isn't fiction. It's what happened to me in 2025, right here in the Mile High City. I'll tell it in parts, straight from my heart, with all the ups and downs that left me shattered but stronger. Let me take you back to where it all started unraveling, my father's funeral. Richard Mercer was 67 when he passed away from complications after a long battle with heart issues. He was the rock of our family, the founder of Mercer Custom Homes, a respected building company that's been putting up beautiful houses around Denver for decades. Dad started it from scratch in the 80s, turning it into a staple for custom homes in neighborhoods like Cherry Creek and Washington Park. He was fair, hardworking, and always played the long game. Qualities I tried to emulate in my own career crunching numbers for a downtown firm near the 16th Street Mall. The funeral was on a crisp February morning at Fairmount Cemetery, one of Denver's oldest and most peaceful spots, with those stunning views of the Rockies in the distance. Snow dusted the ground, and the air had that biting chill that makes everything feel more final. Family and friends gathered under gray skies, about 100 people, including clients who'd known Dad for years. I stood there in my black suit, feeling numb, thinking the worst was already behind us. After all, we'd watched him fight for months at UC Health University of Colorado Hospital, holding on through surgeries and setbacks. Now, it was time to say goodbye and move forward. My brother Caleb was there too, of course. He's 37, 2 years older than me, and he's always been the ambitious one, the real estate agent who took over sales for Dad's company. Growing up, we had our share of sibling rivalries. Picture this. Back in the 90s, in our family home in Highland neighborhood, Caleb and I would argue over everything. Who got the bigger room? Who Dad favored on job sites during summer breaks? I was the analytical kid, good with books and numbers, while Caleb was the charmer, always closing deals even as a teen selling lemonade. But Dad kept the balance. He'd say, "Boys, family's like a strong foundation. Crack it, and the whole house falls." He'd take us hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park to cool off, teaching us teamwork on those trails. Despite the bickering, we were tight, or so I thought. My wife Mia was by my side that day, holding my hand tightly. She's 34, a sharp SMM marketer who helped Caleb with property listings, social media campaigns that really boosted sales. We met in 2016 at a networking event at the Denver Art Museum. She was Mia Lawson back then, full of energy and ideas. We hit it off, got married in 2018 at the Botanic Gardens, and built a life in a cozy townhouse in Lodo. She seemed supportive, especially during Dad's illness, cooking meals for hospital visits and handling calls. At the funeral, she whispered, "We'll get through this, Dan," and I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Our marriage had its rough patches, like any couple dealing with work stress and no kids yet, but I trusted her completely. The service was heartfelt. The pastor from St. John's Cathedral spoke about Dad's legacy, how he built not just homes but communities. Caleb gave a eulogy, choking up as he talked about Dad teaching him the ropes on sites in suburbs like Littleton. I followed, sharing stories of Dad's wisdom during family dinners at places like Guard and Grace downtown, where he'd quiz us on business ethics over steak. As they lowered the casket, I felt a wave of grief, but also relief. The pain of watching him suffer was over. Little did I know, the real storm was just brewing. After the burial, we headed to a reception at the Brown Palace Hotel, that historic spot in the heart of Denver with its grand atrium. People mingled, sharing laughs and tears over coffee and sandwiches. That's when Evelyn Carter approached us. She's 58, Dad's trusted lawyer for over 20 years, sharp as a tack with her office in the Republic Plaza building. She pulled Caleb, Mia, and me aside, her expression serious. "Dan, Caleb, Mia, Richard left specific instructions. We need to read the will tomorrow at my office. It's important everyone attends. I nodded, thinking it was routine. Dad had always been fair, splitting things evenly, right? But as she walked away, a strange unease settled in my gut. Why the urgency? And why did Mia squeeze my hand a little too hard, avoiding my eyes? That night, back home, I couldn't shake it. Tomorrow would change everything, and not in the way I expected. The morning after Dad's funeral, I woke up in our Lodo townhouse, the city buzzing outside with that familiar Denver hum. Cars on Larimer Street, the faint clatter of light rail. Mia was already up, sipping coffee from our favorite spot, Snooze M. Eatery, just a few blocks away. She seemed distracted, scrolling her phone, barely acknowledging me. "You okay?" I asked, chalking it up to grief. She gave me a tight smile and said, "Just tired, Dan. Big day." Her words felt hollow, but I brushed it off. We'd been married 7 years. I trusted her. Or so I thought. By 10 a.m., we were at Evelyn Carter's office in Republic Plaza, that sleek skyscraper downtown with its red granite and killer views of the Rockies. The office was all polished wood and leather chairs, the kind of place that screams old money Denver. Evelyn sat at her desk, her gray suit crisp, a stack of papers in front of her. My brother Caleb was there, looking sharp in a tailored jacket, the kind he'd wear to close deals at upscale spots like Rioja on Larimer Square. He flashed me a grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. Mia sat next to me, her hands folded too tightly in her lap. Evelyn started with the usual formalities, explaining Dad's estate, Mercer Custom Homes, a business worth millions, with projects in neighborhoods like Park Hill and stapled contracts as far as Boulder. I expected a straightforward split. Dad always said the company was for both his sons. Maybe I'd get the financial reins, given my background as an analyst, and Caleb would handle sales, like always. Mia might get a nod for her marketing work, maybe a small bonus. That's what made sense. Then Evelyn slid a document across the desk, a codicil to Dad's will, dated November 2023. My heart sank as she read it aloud. To my son Caleb Mercer, I bequeath 60% of Mercer Custom Homes, including operational control. To my son Daniel Mercer, I bequeath 10% of the company and the family cabin in Estes Park. To my daughter-in-law, Mia Mercer, I appoint management of the family trust, which holds 25% of the company, to act in the best interests of the Mercer family. The words hit like a freight train. 60% to Caleb, 10% to me, and Mia, my wife, controlling a quarter of the company through some trust? I glanced at her, expecting shock, but she wouldn't meet my eyes, staring at the floor like it held the secrets of the universe. Caleb leaned back, arms crossed, looking way too calm. My mind raced. Dad built this company for both of us. Why would he side-ine me, the guy who'd been crunching numbers for his projects since I was 20, interning at his office near Union Station? It felt like someone had just cut me out of my own bloodline. I forced my voice steady. "Evelyn, this doesn't add up. Dad always said the company was split evenly." She adjusted her glasses, her face unreadable. "This codicil was signed and notarized last November, Dan. It supersedes the 2022 will. Richard was clear about his wishes." I pressed. "When last November?" "He was in the hospital after his stroke." Evelyn hesitated, flipping to the signature page. "November 12th, 2023. Notarized by a registered e-notary service." November 12th. A Sunday. My stomach twisted. I'd been at UC Health that day, sitting by Dad's bed in Aurora. He could barely hold a pen, let alone sign a legal document. Machines were beeping, nurses coming in and out. He wasn't meeting with notaries. I shot a look at Caleb. "You know anything about this?" He shrugged, casual as if we were discussing dinner plans at Tavanetta. "Dad's call, not mine." Mia finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Dan, your dad wanted to protect the company. He trusted me to manage the trust because I've been helping Caleb grow the business." Her words sounded rehearsed, and that tight smile was back. I wanted to believe her, but something was screaming wrong. Why her? Why not me, his son, who'd balanced the books for years? And why was Caleb acting like he'd won the lottery? Evelyn handed us copies of the codicil, the notary seal glaring at me like a taunt. As we left the office, walking through the bustling lobby of Republic Plaza, I couldn't shake the math. November 12th, a Sunday, Dad in the hospital, barely conscious. And Mia, my wife, suddenly a trusted manager of a multi-million-dollar trust? I remembered a night a few weeks before Dad's stroke, at a client dinner at Elway's in Cherry Creek. Dad had pulled me aside, saying, "Dan, you're the steady hand this company needs. Don't let anyone rush you." He'd looked at Caleb across the table, laughing with Mia, and frowned. Back home that night, I pored over the codicil at our kitchen table, the Denver skyline twinkling outside. Mia was in the shower, her phone left on the counter. I don't know why I looked, call it instinct, but her screen lit up with a notification from an app one didn't recognize. eNotary portal. Recent activity. My blood ran cold. Why was my wife, a marketer, getting notifications from a notary service? And why did the date on that codicil feel like a lie? After that bombshell at Evelyn Carter's office, I couldn't sleep. Our Lodo townhouse felt like a cage, the Denver skyline mocking me through the windows. Mia was acting normal, too normal, cooking dinner like we were still the happy couple who'd grab burgers at Cherry Cricket on 2nd Avenue. But that eNotary portal notification on her phone? It was burning a hole in my brain. Why would Mia, a social media marketer, be messing with notary apps? And that codicil, dated November 12th, 2023, a Sunday when Dad was hooked up to machines at UC Health? No way he signed anything. The next morning, I called in sick to my firm near the 16th Street Mall and drove to a Starbucks in Capitol Hill, needing space to think. Over a flat white, I started digging. First, I pulled up Dad's insurance records through an old family account we shared for Mercer Custom Homes. I had access because I'd helped manage the books for years, even running payroll from their office in Glendale. What I found stopped me cold. 2 weeks before that codicil, on October 28th, 2023, the beneficiary on Dad's $2 million life insurance policy changed. It wasn't me anymore, or even Caleb. It was redirected to the same family trust Mia now controlled. The trust that supposedly protected the company. My hands shook as I stared at my laptop. Dad was in and out of consciousness that October, barely able to talk, let alone make major financial moves. I remembered visiting him at UC Health, the hospital's sterile halls smelling of antiseptic, his voice weak as he said, "Keep the company steady, Dan." Why would he shift his insurance to a trust? And how did Mia, who only handled Instagram ads for Caleb's listings, end up its manager? I needed answers, so I called Evelyn Carter. We met at her office that afternoon, the Denver skyline glinting through her window. Evelyn was all business, sipping tea from a mug with a Red Rocks logo. I laid it out. The codicil date didn't add up, and now this insurance switch? She leaned back, her eyes narrowing. "Dan, I'll be straight with you. Your father was adamant about keeping control with you. When he drafted the 2022 will, he said Caleb was too impulsive to run the company alone. This codicil, it doesn't sound like Richard." That hit hard. Dad had always trusted me with the numbers, even when Caleb was out schmoozing clients at places like Guard and Grace. Evelyn pulled out a file. I wasn't at the codicil signing. It was done through an eNotary service. Richard's health was declining, so it's possible he used remote notarization. But I agree, the timing's odd. She promised to look into the notary records, but warned me. "Be careful, Dan. If this document's not legitimate, someone went to a lot of trouble." Back home, Mia was out, supposedly meeting a client at Blue Island Oyster Bar in Cherry Creek. I couldn't shake Evelyn's words or the insurance change. That evening, we had dinner plans at Mercado in Denver's Tech Center, a fancy Italian spot we loved for anniversaries. Mia was all smiles, chatting about a new listing Caleb was pushing in Wash Park. But then she said something that made my fork freeze midair. Caleb's projecting a 15% revenue bump next quarter from those new builds in Sloan's Lake. My jaw tightened. Those numbers were internal, from board reports she shouldn't have seen. I'd prepped those projections myself for Dad last summer, locked in a secure drive at the Glendale office. How did she know? I played it cool, nodding like it was no big deal, but my mind was racing. After dinner, as we walked past the shops on Bellevue Avenue, I tried to probe. "Mia, how'd you get those Sloan's Lake numbers? That's board-level stuff." She laughed it off, linking her arm with mine. "Oh, Caleb mentioned it in passing. You know how he talks shop. But her eyes darted away, and I felt that same unease from the will reading. Caleb wasn't that careless with numbers, and Mia wasn't that deep in the company's books. Later that night, I couldn't stop myself. While Mia slept, I grabbed her phone from the nightstand. No lock. She'd always been open with it before. I opened her notifications, and there it was again. E-Notary portal, document access confirmed. My heart pounded. I didn't know what it meant yet, but it was no coincidence. I took a screenshot and sent it to my email, knowing I was crossing a line but unable to stop. Whatever was going on, Mia was in deeper than she let on, and that codicil was starting to smell like a setup. After spotting that e-notary portal notification on Mia's phone, I was a mess. Our Lodo townhouse, usually my safe haven with its exposed brick and views of Coors Field, felt like a crime scene I was trying to piece together. I couldn't confront Mia yet, not without proof. But the more I thought about it, the more my mind dragged me back to moments over the years where things didn't quite add up. Let me take you through some flashbacks that started making sense in a sickening way. Back in 2018, Mia and I were newlyweds, grabbing brunch at Snooze A.M. Eatery in Union Station, laughing over mimosas. Caleb was working with Dad at Mercer Custom Homes, and Mia had just started helping him with marketing, social media posts for listings in places like Highlands Ranch. I noticed they'd text a lot, but I figured it was work. One night that year, at a client event at Shanahan Steakhouse in the tech center, I caught them in a corner, laughing a little too close, heads bent over her phone. I brushed it off. Mia said they were tweaking an Instagram campaign. But looking back, that moment stung. Fast forward to 2021, Caleb and Mia started taking client trips together. One was to Aspen, supposedly to pitch a luxury build in Snowmass Village. I was swamped at my firm, analyzing portfolios for a client near the Denver Tech Center, so I didn't go. Mia came back glowing, talking about the views from the Little Nell Hotel. Caleb posted pics on Instagram, them at a rooftop bar, clinking glasses. I asked her about it over dinner at Acorn and Rhino, and she laughed, saying, "Dan, it's just business. Caleb's a closer, you know that." But why were they sharing a rental car for 3 days? I pushed the thought down, telling myself I was paranoid. By 2023, when Dad's health started failing, Mia and Caleb were practically attached at the hip. Late-night strategy meetings at his office in Glendale, or grabbing drinks at the Cooper Lounge in Union Station to debrief. I was at UC Health with Dad most nights, holding his hand as he faded. Mia would text, "Stuck at work with Caleb, love you." And I'd believe her. I mean, she was my wife, right? We'd built a life together, from our first date at the Denver Art Museum to cozy nights at home watching movies from Red Rock's Film on the Rock series. But those memories were starting to feel like a lie. Looking back, every laugh, every toast, every late-night client meeting, they weren't just memories. They were clues I ignored. Now, in 2025, I was done ignoring the signs. That morning after the notary notification, I sat at our kitchen table, the Denver skyline gray and moody outside. Mia was out, supposedly at a yoga class at Kindness Yoga in Capitol Hill. I opened my laptop and started digging deeper. I logged into our home Wi-Fi router. Nerdy, I know, but I'd set it up years ago through Xfinity. The logs showed activity on November 12, 2023, the codicil's date, from Mia's laptop to an e-notary service. My heart sank. She'd been home that Sunday while I was at the hospital. What was she doing? I needed to talk to her, so I asked her to meet me for lunch at Mercado in the Tech Center, our old anniversary spot. Over pasta, I tried to keep it light, but couldn't hold back. "Mia, about the codicil, how'd Dad pick you for the trust? He barely mentioned you in business stuff." Her eyes flickered, and she twirled her fork. "Dan, your dad saw how I helped Caleb. He wanted someone neutral to manage things. You're overthinking this." Her tone was sharp, like I was the one being unreasonable. I pushed harder. "Neutral? You're my wife, not neutral." And that date, November 12th, he was in the hospital. How'd he sign it? She leaned back, crossing her arms. "Dan, stop it. Your dad wanted this. He used an e-notary because he was sick. Why can't you trust his decision?" Her words felt like gaslighting, twisting my doubts into guilt. I wanted to believe her, but my gut screamed otherwise. We finished lunch in silence, the romantic vibe of Mercado ruined. That night, Mia was working late again. I sat at her desk, her laptop open to update our shared calendar. That's when I saw it. An autofill suggestion in her browser for eNotary portal login. My hands froze. I clicked it, and the login page loaded, pre-filled with her email. She hadn't logged out. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen, knowing I was about to cross a line. But I had to know, what was Mia hiding, and how deep did this go with Caleb? That night, staring at Mia's laptop with the eNotary portal login glaring at me, I felt like I was standing on a cliff. Our Lodo townhouse was quiet, the hum of Denver's nightlife faint outside. Mia was still out, another late meeting, with Caleb at their office in Glendale. My hands shook as I typed her password, one I knew from years of shared accounts. The portal opened, and there it was, a record of a document notarized on November 12, 2023, matching the codicil's date. The notary's name was listed, Sarah Ellison, registered in Colorado, but the document ID was linked to a file I couldn't access without her full credentials. Still, the IP address logged for the session matched our home Wi-Fi. Mia had done this from our house while I was at UC Health with Dad. I took screenshots, my heart pounding like I was committing a crime, but I needed evidence. I cross-checked the notary's name on Colorado's Secretary of State website from my own laptop at our kitchen table. Sarah Ellison was real, but a news article from late 2023 popped up. Her notary seal was reported stolen, and her e-notary certificate was compromised. The report mentioned a string of fraudulent documents tied to her ID. My stomach dropped. The codicil, the one giving Mia and Caleb control, was notarized with a stolen seal? This wasn't just fishy, it was a setup. I needed more, so I called my buddy Tom, a banking consultant I'd worked with on Mercer Custom Homes accounts. We met the next day at Corvus Coffee Roasters in Littleton, a cozy spot with mountain views that felt far from the chaos. Over a pour-over, I showed him the codicil and insurance change. Tom frowned, scrolling through his tablet. Dan, this trust setup is weird. I checked the company's banking records. Someone tried to open a $5 million credit line last December, using Mercer Custom Homes as collateral. The application referenced a board resolution dated November 15, 2023, but your dad's board never met that month. He was too sick. I leaned back, the smell of coffee turning sour in my mouth. A fake board resolution? That was bold, even for Caleb, who'd always pushed for fast deals, like selling lots in Arvada to developers before Dad approved. Tom added, the bank flagged it because the signatures didn't match protocol. It was dropped, but someone was trying to cash out quick. I thought of Mia's casual mention of Sloan's Lake revenue numbers at Mercado, numbers she shouldn't know. Was she in on this? I drove to Evelyn Carter's office in Republic Plaza, the Denver skyline gray and heavy. Evelyn listened as I laid out the IP logs, the stolen notary seal, and the shady credit line attempt. Her eyes narrowed, and she pulled a file from her desk. Dan, your father gave me something last year, before his stroke got bad. He said to hold on to it if things go sideways. She handed me a small key, stamped with a Wells Fargo logo and a safe deposit box number. It's at the branch on 17th Street. He said you'd know when to use it. My mind raced as I left her office, the key burning a hole in my pocket. I drove to the Wells Fargo in downtown Denver, near the 16th Street Mall, its glass facade reflecting the bustling city. The bank manager led me to the vault, and I opened box 472. Inside was a USB drive, a folded letter, and a legal document. My hands trembled as I read the letter first. Dad's handwriting, dated June 2022. Dan, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and someone's moved against you. The USB has my real wishes. Trust Evelyn. Don't let the company fall. I couldn't watch the USB yet. I didn't have my laptop, but the document was a copy of Dad's 2022 will, the one before the codicil. I skimmed it. 50% of Mercer Custom Homes to me, 30% to Caleb with a salaried role, and 20% in a trust for future family projects, managed by Evelyn. Mia got nothing. This was the will Dad had talked about over dinner at Elway's in Cherry Creek, when he'd said, Dan, you're the anchor. The codicil was a lie. I slipped the items into my jacket, my mind spinning. Mia and Caleb had orchestrated something big, forging a codicil, maybe even planning to sell the company. But why? And what was on that USB? As I stepped out into the chilly Denver air, my phone buzzed. It was Mia, her voice cheerful. "Hey, let's grab dinner at Tavernetta tonight. We need to talk." My grip tightened. Talk about what? Her lies, or something worse? After leaving the Wells Fargo on 17th Street, I drove straight home to our Lodo townhouse, the Denver skyline glowing under a pink sunset. My hands were still shaking from what I'd found in Dad's safe deposit box, a USB drive, his real 2022 will, and a letter warning me someone was moving against me. Mia's call about dinner at Tavernetta, that upscale Italian spot in Union Station, echoed in my head. "We need to talk," she'd said, all cheery. But after seeing her laptop's e-notary logs and that stolen notary seal, I wasn't buying her act anymore. I plugged the USB into my laptop at our kitchen table, the same one where Mia and I used to plan our future over coffee from Little Owl Coffee down the street. The drive had one file, a video dated June 2022. I hit play, and there was Dad, sitting in his office at Mercer Custom Homes in Glendale, the Rockies framed in the window behind him. He looked tired but sharp, his voice steady. "Dan, if you're watching this, I'm probably gone, and things aren't right. I've heard Caleb talking about selling the company to a big developer, some outfit from Texas. He's rushing, and I don't trust his motives. My will, the one with Evelyn, gives you control for a reason. You're the steady hand. Don't let anyone take that from you. Trust Evelyn Carter. She knows everything." My chest tightened. Selling the company? Dad built Mercer Custom Homes from nothing, crafting houses in places like Wash Park and Cherry Creek that families cherished. Caleb had always pushed for quick deals, like flipping lots in Broomfield. But this? A full sale? I thought of that $5 million credit line Tom mentioned at Corvus Coffee Roasters, tied to a fake board resolution. Was Caleb planning to cash out and leave me with scraps? The letter in the box was in Dad's handwriting, dated the same day as the video. It mentioned a report he'd filed with the Colorado Notary Public Office about a stolen seal, Sarah Ellison's, the same one used on the codicil. The 2022 will I'd found was exactly as Evelyn described. 50% to me, 30% to Caleb, 20% in a trust managed by her, with Mia getting nothing. This was Dad's real plan, not that November 2023 codicil giving Mia a trust and Caleb control. I needed to test Mia, so I went to Tavernetta that night. The restaurant was buzzing, all warm wood and soft lighting, with the smell of fresh pasta in the air. Mia was already there, sipping wine at a corner table overlooking Union Station's lights. She smiled, but it was tight, like at the will reading. I played it cool, ordering a drink and chatting about her day, some client pitch in Rhino. Then I dropped the bait. "Mia, I found something weird in Dad's old files. He mentioned a notary issue, like someone messed with his will. You know anything about that?" Her face froze for a split second, her fork pausing over her plate. "What? No, Dan, why would I? Your dad handled all that legal stuff." But her voice cracked, and she took a long sip of wine. I pushed, keeping my tone light. "Just odd, you know? That codicil was signed when he was in the hospital, and I saw some notary app on your phone." Her eyes widened, and she laughed, too loud. "Dan, you're being paranoid. I use apps for work, you know that. Maybe it was for a client." Then she slipped. "Anyway, Caleb's already got a buyer lined up for the company. Some big firm from Dallas. It's what your dad would have wanted, growth, not stagnation." My blood ran cold. Buyer? Dad's video literally said he didn't want a sale. I recorded the conversation on my phone, hidden in my pocket, something I'd started doing after the e-notary discovery. "A buyer?" I asked casual. "Who's Caleb talking to?" She backtracked fast. "Oh, just hypotheticals. Nothing's set." But the damage was done. She knew about a deal Dad had warned against. I left dinner early, saying I had a work call, and drove to Washington Park, needing air. The park's lake reflected the city lights, and I sat on a bench, replaying her words. Mia wasn't just hiding something. She was neck-deep in a scheme with Caleb. The video, the will, the notary fraud. It all pointed to them rigging the codicil to sell Mercer Custom Homes out from under me. But how far would they go to cover it up? After Mia's slip at Tavernetta about a buyer for the company, I was done playing nice. The USB video, the 2022 will, and the stolen notary seal from Dad's safe deposit box were burning a hole in my pocket. I sat in Washington Park that night, the lake's calm surface mocking the storm in my chest. Mia and Caleb weren't just betraying me. They were dismantling Dad's legacy, the company he built from scratch in neighborhoods like Park Hill and Cherry Creek. I wasn't letting that happen. The next morning, I met Evelyn Carter at her Republic Plaza office, the Denver skyline stark against a cold February sky. I laid everything out. The USB video of Dad warning about Caleb's plan to sell, the 2022 will giving me control, the stolen notary seal, the IP logs from our Lodo townhouse tying Mia to the e-notary portal, and the shady $5 million credit line attempt Tom uncovered at Corvus Coffee Roasters. Evelyn's eyes lit up, sharp as ever. Dan, this is enough to challenge the codicil in court. Fraudulent notarization, falsified documents. It's serious. We can file a petition to invalidate it and restore the 2022 will. She started drafting a court motion, her fingers flying over her laptop. We'll need the video authenticated, the IP logs verified, and the notary's report on the stolen seal. I've got a contact at the Denver District Court to expedite this. I handed over the letter Dad wrote about the notary fraud and the original 2022 will. Evelyn added, I'll request the bank records for that credit line attempt. If we can prove Caleb and Mia fabricated a board resolution, it's game over. I wasn't stopping there. I drove to the Denver Police Department's headquarters on Cherokee Street, a modern building near the Art Museum. With Evelyn's advice, I filed a report for fraud and document forgery, submitting the IP logs, the notary article, and a copy of the codicil's notary ID. The officer, a no-nonsense guy named Martinez, took my statement. This looks like a white-collar case, Mr. Mercer. If the notary seal was stolen and used from your home IP, we can investigate. It'll take time, but we'll follow the trail. Back home, I kept my routine normal, not tipping off Mia. We had dinner at Rioja in Larimer Square, her favorite spot for their Mediterranean plates. She was all smiles, talking about a new listing in Sloan's Lake, but I could barely eat, my mind on the court filing. That's when Caleb called. He suggested we meet for a drink at the Cooper Lounge in Union Station, just to clear the air. Against my better judgment, I went. The lounge was all velvet and chandeliers, with views of the city lights. Caleb was waiting, nursing a whiskey, his usual charm dialed up. Dan, he started, leaning in. You're upset about the will, I get it. But let's be real. Dad was sick, and he made a call. You don't want to run the company. I do. I clenched my jaw, thinking of Dad's video. Caleb, cut the act. I know about the buyer. You're trying to sell Mercer Custom Homes. His eyes flickered, but he laughed it off. Rumors, bro. No one's selling. Then he leaned closer, his voice low. Look, let's make a deal. Drop this will nonsense, and I'll give you 30% of the company, plus $1 million in cash. You keep the cabin in Estes Park, walk away clean. We're family, Dan. Don't tear us apart. My blood boiled. A bribe? After forging a will and screwing me over? I recorded every word on my phone, hidden in my jacket. I'll think about it, I said, keeping my cool. But inside, I was raging. He thought he could buy me off Dad's legacy? That wasn't just business. It was a slap in the face to everything Dad built. I left the lounge, the city's glow blurring as I drove down 17th Street. Caleb's offer confirmed everything. Him and Mia were desperate to cover their tracks. But I had the evidence. Dad's video, the real will, the IP logs, and now Caleb's recorded bribe. The next day, Evelyn called. The court set a hearing for next week at the Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse. The police are pulling Mia's laptop records based on your report. We're close, Dan. As I hung up, Mia texted, late night at the office. Don't wait up. My heart sank, not from love, but from the weight of her lies. I pictured her and Caleb plotting at their Glendale office, thinking they'd won. But I was ready to bring this to light, no matter how much it hurt. The hearing was set for a chilly March morning, the Denver skyline sharp against a clear sky. I arrived at the Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse on Colfax Avenue, a sleek, modern building that felt like it held the weight of my entire future. Evelyn Carter was by my side, her briefcase packed with our evidence: Dad's USB video, the 2022 will, the stolen notary seal report, IP logs from our Lodo townhouse, and bank records of that $5 million credit line attempt. My stomach churned as I walked past the metal detectors, knowing Mia and Caleb would be there, facing the truth. The courtroom was stark, all wood paneling and fluorescent lights. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Larson, presided from the bench. Caleb sat across the aisle, looking polished in a suit he'd probably worn to close deals at Garden Grace. Mia was next to him, her face pale, avoiding my eyes. I thought of our years together, dates at the Denver Botanic Gardens, late nights at Blue Island Oyster Bar in Cherry Creek, and it felt like a punch to the gut. How did we get here? Evelyn opened, laying out our case. The November 2023 codicil was fraudulent, signed with a stolen notary seal when Dad was incapacitated at UC Health. She presented the 2022 will, authenticated by Dad's signature and Evelyn's records, giving me control of Mercer Custom Homes. The USB video played on a courtroom screen, Dad's voice echoing as he warned about Caleb's plan to sell the company. I watched Caleb shift in his seat, his jaw tight. Mia stared at her hands. Then came the notary evidence. Evelyn called Sarah Ellison, the notary whose seal was stolen. She testified via video from her office in Boulder, explaining how her e-notary certificate was compromised in October 2023, reported to the state, and revoked 2 months before the codicil's date. Any document using my seal after September 2023 is invalid, she said. Evelyn followed with the IP logs, showing the e-notary portal was accessed from our home Wi-Fi on November 12, 2023, when I was at the hospital and Mia was home. The bank records were next. Tom, my banking consultant, testified about the $5 million credit line attempt, tied to a fake board resolution dated just days after the codicil. Mercer Custom Homes board didn't meet in November, he said. The signatures were inconsistent with protocol. The judge's eyes narrowed, and I felt a spark of hope. We were building a solid case. Then it was their turn. Caleb's lawyer, a slick guy from a downtown firm near the 16th Street Mall, argued the codicil was legitimate, claiming Dad used an e-notary for convenience. But he stumbled when Judge Larson pressed for proof of Dad's capacity to sign. Mia was called to the stand, and Evelyn didn't hold back. Mrs. Mercer, can you explain why your home IP address was used to access the e-notary portal on November 12, 2023, when your husband was with his father in the hospital? Mia's voice shook. I don't know. Maybe it was a glitch. Evelyn held up the screenshot of Mia's laptop autofill for the e-notary portal. And this? Your email, your device, logged into a notary service you claim not to use? Mia's face crumpled. Under cross-examination, she cracked. Okay, fine, she blurted, tears streaming. Caleb and we got close when Richard was sick. It started as an affair, but we didn't mean for this. The codicil. Caleb said it was the only way to secure the company's future. The courtroom went silent. My heart shattered, not just from the affair, but from the confirmation. Mia and Caleb had planned this. Caleb's lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut him down. Mia kept talking, her voice breaking. Caleb wanted to sell the company. He said it was too much for Dan to handle. I went along with it. I gripped the table, memories of our life. Dinners at Tavernetta, hikes in Rocky Mountain National Park, turning to ash. Evelyn sealed it with Caleb's recorded bribe from the Cooper Lounge, offering me 30% and cash to walk away. The judge's face was stone as it played. When the hearing ended, she ordered a forensic review of the codicil and froze the company's assets pending the outcome. As we left, I overheard a prosecutor in the hall. This is enough for a criminal fraud case. We're opening an investigation. Outside, the Denver air was sharp. Mia tried to approach me, tears in her eyes, but I walked away, heading towards Civic Center Park. Caleb was already gone, probably plotting his next move. My phone buzzed, Evelyn, saying the police had a warrant for Mia's laptop. The walls were closing in, but the pain of Mia's confession cut deeper than any court win. After the hearing, I drove to Cheeseman Park, needing to clear my head. The park's wide lawns and mountain views usually calm me, but not today. Mia's words in court, Caleb and I, we got close, played on a loop, each one a knife. I trusted her through our years together, from our wedding at the Denver Botanic Gardens to quiet nights at our Lodo townhouse. Now, she was gone, packing her things that afternoon while I was out. A note on the kitchen counter, in her handwriting, said, "I'm sorry, Dan. I'll stay with a friend in Rhino. We'll talk soon." I crumpled it, my chest tight with betrayal. Caleb was under a court order not to leave Denver, on a bond pending the fraud investigation. The police had seized Mia's laptop, and Evelyn Carter called to confirm they'd found more eNotary portal logs, plus emails between Mia and Caleb discussing a Dallas-based developer, Pinnacle Group, who'd offered $12 million for Mercer Custom Homes. The deal was set to close in January 2025, before Dad's death derailed it. I sat at my desk, staring at the Denver skyline, and dug into the company's email server, something I still had access to from my days managing its books. What I found made my blood run cold. Emails from Caleb to Pinnacle, dated October 2023, promising a clean sale with full board approval. He'd attached a fake resolution, the same one Tom flagged with the $5 million credit line attempt. There were also messages to Mia, one saying, "Once we clear the codicil, Dan's out, and we're set." They'd planned to cut me out entirely, sell Dad's legacy, and split the profits. I forwarded everything to Evelyn and the police, my hands shaking. The next day, I met Evelyn at her Republic Plaza office. She was reviewing client letters that had trickled in, forwarded from the Mercer Custom Homes office in Glendale. "Dan, these are from contractors in Wash Park and Littleton. They say Caleb was pitching a quick sale to Pinnacle last fall, undercutting the company's value by millions to rush it through." She showed me a letter from a longtime client, a developer in Boulder, who'd been blindsided by Caleb's push to liquidate ongoing projects. "This supports our case," Evelyn said. "He was moving fast, probably to cash out before anyone noticed." I needed to see Dad's office, to feel grounded. I drove to the Glendale headquarters, a low brick building where I'd spent summers learning the business. The place was quiet, most staff on leave after Dad's death. His corner office was untouched, blueprints for a Cherry Creek project on the desk, a photo of us hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park on the wall. I sat in his chair, the leather creaking, and replayed the USB video from the safe deposit box. Dad's voice was steady. "Dan, you're the steady hand. Don't let anyone take that from you." Tears stung my eyes. The pain of losing him, and now Mia and Caleb, was suffocating. Evelyn called as I left the office. "The court's ruling on the codicil is coming tomorrow. The forensic report confirmed the eNotary signature was fraudulent, and the police are building a criminal case. Stay strong, Dan." That night, I couldn't sleep, pacing our townhouse, the Denver lights blurring outside. I kept seeing Mia's face in court, her tears, and Caleb's smug grin at the Cooper Lounge, offering me a bribe. They'd torn our family apart, but I was determined to save Dad's legacy. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. "Check your mail, Dan. You deserve the truth." My heart raced as I walked to the mailbox outside our building. Inside was an unmarked envelope, no return address, containing a single USB drive labeled Mercer. I froze, the weight of it heavy in my hand. Was this another piece of Dad's plan, or something else entirely? I didn't know, but it felt like the final piece of the puzzle was about to drop. That morning, I sat in my Lodo townhouse, the Denver skyline glowing softly outside, and plugged the new USB drive labeled Mercer into my laptop. My hands shook, expecting another message from Dad, but what I saw was different. A grainy security video from the Glendale office, dated October 2023. It showed Caleb and Mia in Dad's office, late at night, rifling through his desk. Caleb pulled out a notary seal, Sarah Ellison's, the stolen one, and Mia typed on a laptop, the eNotary portal open. A voice, Caleb's, said, "Once this codicil's done, we're clear to sell." Mia nodded, her face cold. My heart sank. This was it. Proof they'd forged the codicil together. I forwarded the video to Evelyn Carter and the police, then headed to the Lindsay Flanagan courthouse for the codicil ruling. The courtroom was packed, the air heavy. Judge Larson took the bench, her face unreadable. Evelyn presented the new USB video, authenticated by a forensics team, alongside the 2022 will, Dad's safe deposit box letter, the stolen notary seal report, IP logs, and emails about the Pinnacle Group sale. Caleb's lawyer tried to argue, but the evidence was overwhelming. Judge Larson ruled, the November 2023 codicil is invalid, forged with a stolen notary seal and executed without Richard Mercer's capacity. The 2022 will is reinstated, granting Daniel Mercer 50% of Mercer Custom Homes, Caleb Mercer 30%, and 20% in a trust managed by Evelyn Carter. The gavel hit, and relief washed over me. I glanced at Caleb, his face pale, and Mia, who wouldn't look up. The judge froze Caleb's shares pending the criminal investigation and granted me temporary control of the company. Outside, in the crisp Denver air, Evelyn squeezed my shoulder. You did it, Dan. Richard would be proud. But the victory felt hollow. Mia's betrayal and Caleb's greed had shattered our family. The police moved fast. By afternoon, they arrested Caleb for fraud and forgery based on the USB video and laptop logs. Mia cut a deal, agreeing to testify against him for a reduced charge. At the Denver Police Department on Cherokee Street, she admitted to the affair and helping Caleb forge the codicil, thinking they'd sell the company and start over. Caleb faced heavier charges but took a plea: 3 years probation, a $500,000 fine, and a ban from corporate roles. Mia got a year of probation and community service. They were ordered to repay the company for legal costs, a civil penalty that hit hard. I moved out of our Lodo townhouse, renting a place in Wash Park near the lake, needing a fresh start. I took over Mercer Custom Homes, steering it back to Dad's vision: quality homes in neighborhoods like Sloan's Lake and Highlands. I kept his Glendale office untouched, a reminder of his legacy, with that photo of us hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park on the wall. One evening, I sat there, sipping coffee from Corvus Coffee Roasters, and set up a scholarship in Dad's name for young builders, funding it through the company's trust. It felt right, like honoring the man who'd taught me everything. The final twist? That USB in my mailbox came from a junior staffer at the Glendale office, who'd overheard Caleb bragging about the sale and found the security footage. She'd stayed quiet, scared, but sent it anonymously to help me. I thanked her quietly, promoting her to project manager. She's now leading a build in Cherry Creek, carrying Dad's torch. As I walked through Civic Center Park one evening, the Denver skyline twinkling, I thought about Dad's words in his video: "You're the steady hand." He was right. A legacy isn't just papers or money. It's the conscience of those who carry it. And even though I lost my wife and my brother, I refused to lose myself. Mia and Caleb lost theirs, but I found mine. And that's worth more than any company.